Deleted Session, April 3, 1978. Good evening. A private session. Some of this material has been given before, but it is important here. First of all, it is important to realize that Ruber's unconscious, so-called, is not working against him on purpose, sabotaging his projects. The subconscious does reason, but it also reasons according to the information that you give it. I want to begin by reminding you that these divisions to the self are rather arbitrary. For the sake of discussion, the ego again looks into the physical world. The source self, or inner ego, has its prime reality in framework too. Between the ego and the inner ego, you have what you think of as the unconscious. It gets its energy, of course, from the source self, and its primary directives to ensure the fulfillment and the survival of the person. To some extent, then, it must depend upon conscious deductions and reasoning. With that as background, let me continue. You have a good point of organization with your pendulum work today. Fear of the kind mentioned, Ram noted, scorn and ridicule. Said is behind the symptoms. Whenever our sessions, your own efforts, or other events have convinced Ruber either of the personal safe universe or of the basic safety of the self, that reassurance helped quiet the unconscious fears, and allowed him then to direct his will toward physical improvements. The fears were never granted validity, however, though sometimes given vague intellectual recognition. They were considered cowardly, unadult, unreasonable, degrading, and both of you considered them in that light. How abject can you get? You would both think. Now let us for a moment look at the situation from the point of view of the unconscious. With the information it has received, and in the light of what it considers Ruber's lack of understanding, lack of gratitude, and the determined refusal to understand its position, we must start with the fact that Ruber did not feel secure as a child, but was made somewhat to feel responsible for his mother's illness and break-up of her marriage. He was then sent to a home. He was a high-spirited child, and was taught there that he must toe the mark and do what the others did, or he would be punished. Later, when he returned home, he learned that he must toe the mark again, or welfare would put him in another home. He must not make waves. It was not safe to stand out. His food, clothing, and survival depend on toeing the mark. The church provided a family of sorts, but that family also was dependent upon religious obedience. Ruber's high spirits and abilities fought against such circumstances. He finally broke away from the church, running to college, a college considered by the church at the time as communistically inclined, anti-religious, and so forth. His survival in college, since he had a scholarship, was dependent upon toeing the mark, and even then he refused to do so, and was quite unceremoniously kicked out on his independent ass. He refused several marriage proposals, having determined he would not toe the mark at all in a conventional marriage. He tried a relationship with Watt, but his high spirits and abilities would not stand for that kind of repression. When he met you, he turned to love and science, for by then he had set upon science and the intellect as a safe means of containing his abilities and expressing them. Your own joint sexual love was too hard for either of you to handle, and you both tempered it with intellectualism and caution, but for all of that it has endured. Rupert's abilities and energy kept seeking fulfillment. Through those years, he considered himself an outcast from society, and he did not know where his abilities were leading. He tried to toe the mark while doing his own thing. He did not identify with the world or its people. He identified mentally, however, with science, with the avant-garde, and so was sustained. At the gallery, for example, when your psychic work began, he did not speak out, and you encouraged him not to, and you both considered this as a scientific kind of breakthrough. When Rupert discovered that his energy and abilities had led him to a point where he was at odds with religion and science, and had no place to roost thematically, he became very worried. If you did not toe the mark, you were punished severely or abandoned, or your sustenance was cut off. His unconscious had learned to tread a careful line, to let Rupert use his abilities while seeing that he was protected at the same time. Its ideas were largely gained in childhood, and there was a give and take between Rupert's fears and hopes. Gradually, however, the give and take gave. He held back the fears, thinking them beneath adult behavior. He stopped giving his unconscious feedback in that regard. A point also from the past. If he did not toe the mark with what also threatened to abandon him. Once, in the middle of the desert, he found himself with you and his work. He would do what he would do anyway, protecting himself as he thought fit. When the feedback stopped, the subconscious became panicky. Since so much of Rupert's life was involved with yours, it felt that Rupert must now toe the mark with you also, at least topside, so that he must not express any contrary opinions, or that you would abandon him also, in which case he would be utterly alone. Give us a moment. Rupert did not approve of fear. He felt it was, again, cowardly. It was given no validity, nor acknowledged as valid. As the books continued to sell, several conflicts arose. They served expression and creativity, and they ensured financial security. But at the same time, they made Rupert's unofficial dangerous thoughts publicly available. They told the world he did not toe the line, and he feared retribution, ostracism, scorn. He fears the books will not sell, because he is afraid, as in childhood, that if you do not toe the line, your sustenance will be taken away. Remind him that financially at least, that not toeing the line has paid off very well indeed, and in your pendulum work, inform the subconscious of that. Tell the subconscious that you understand its purposes and thank it for its concern. Apologize for cutting off the important give and take of feelings, and admit that under the circumstances it was given, its own fears were justified. You did not give it all the facts. You, here is Rupert. You did not grant its feelings any validity. Remind the subconscious that its origin is with the source self, which will indeed provide it automatically with the necessary conditions for safety and survival. At the time the subconscious developed these fears, it believed that its survival was dependent upon other people, for Rupert was young and frightened. If you did not do what other people said, they were in trouble. And deeply, in the face of that belief, Ruber still determined to do his own thing, only with the safeguards. As his abilities blossomed, the safeguards turned into fortifications. He could not counter the fears because he would not acknowledge them. The unconscious therefore felt forced to take stronger measures. Give us a moment. At times, again, inroads would be made. I have probably mentioned before that in college, Ruber would cross the street often rather than meet a group of students. The pattern simply intensified. The gallery of silence affair was simply another episode in which fears were pooh-poohed, but he was afraid that those people would come here and he felt frightened. His new room gave him the view that he wanted, but no protection, and not only that, but then he was the one who met guests head-on. All of this goes back, forgive me, to fears that the spontaneous self will in one way or another get him in trouble. Give us a moment again. Obviously, the unconscious is spontaneous, but his early experience taught him, as given earlier this evening, to use that spontaneity with care. The subconscious feels that it is doing its job, because Ruber has not allowed feedback, not approving of fear, not allowing the feelings release, and therefore also cutting down on experience that could counter the feelings and show the subconscious that the fears were exaggerated. Ruber does not think that you are afraid, for you seldom voice any fears. He feels, therefore, that he is a coward, that fears make him seem abject, that they are unacceptable. On various occasions, when the suggestions in his papers worked, you follow me. They worked because at the same time, Ruber was writing down his feelings, his aggressions, and his fears. He felt that aggressive action was also frightening, for the same reasons as just given. You do not bite the hand that feeds you. The feelings of panic are the result of fears usually buried, when they suddenly reach a point of intensity that seeks acknowledgement. I believe that is it for the evening. Ralph said, okay, very good. They said, thank you, I hope it helps. Ralph said, it will, thank you, good night. They said, a note. I had not intended to say this again, because it seems to do no good. I would like to mention, however, that neither of you make any serious effort to change your beliefs about the world of men. What I have said on that issue has made little inroad there. You are self-righteous, both of you, and intolerant of your fellows. You look for evidence of their poor intent and chicanery, and you seek out evidence of their flaws. In your turns, I do not share your humanity in a fashion. I am not directly concerned with the exuberance, vitality, creativity, joys, sorrows, or tragedies of life. My standards of spiritual behavior, I would say, are as pertinent as your own, as high. Yet, I can honestly say that your self-righteousness blinds you both to the good intent, however misguided, in say even political actions. Look how Ruber's unconscious tries to protect him with symptoms that you certainly find most disagreeable, because Ruber has not given his unconscious, say, all of the facts. In a different way, countries try to protect themselves, or people will believe that they must perform certain acts that are deplorable. Yet you both collect data confirming man's nefarious nature. I will write my good fortune tonight by telling you that such actions do not help either of you at all, and that they are not realistic or objective attitudes, though you may believe that they are. I will carry my sacrilegious remarks further to tell you personally, Joseph, that the Rockefellers are not driven by any evil intent, and with that remark I leave you, daring not to trespass any further upon your cherished beliefs. A fond good evening. Ross said, "Thank you very much," Seth.